have been, honestly, dreaming, pun intended, about this exhibit for quite some time. And I'm beyond thrilled to be here. I mean, I'm a huge car enthusiast. And actually Gil, who's, running our camera right there.
Hi, Gil.
I mean, he should probably be the one doing this interview because he gets into the whole mechanics and how they run and the engine. I mean, not that I don't care about that, but I mean, come on, this is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they're works of art. So I want to say, thank you to the High Museum and compliment you guys for this remarkable exhibit.
Well, thank you. This has been a real, I've been working on the show for 3 years.
3 years.
To bring this to our community, and it's really, it's been amazing because we've searched all over. We have international loans, private lenders, public institutions to bring the 17 cars all together here, as well as the works on paper and the models.
So 17 cars, and some of these are privately owned? Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Including the one behind us. So it's been really interesting. I mean, these cars really represent incredible ideas, and that was the whole idea of the exhibition, it wasn't just about the cars themselves, but what they represent, and that they are really, they crystallize these ideas of innovation and new designs and really creating kind of a better world, whether it was just for yourself, like this car, which this guy just designed it for himself and made it sort of in his backyard as kind of a hobby.
That's insane.
Yes.
Really.
Can you imagine this being...
I mean, this is stunning.
He did it in 1947 for about $10,000.
Really?
Yeah, it's really incredible. And there's gold flecks in the paint. That's where you get this kind of beautiful kind of sheen of the paint job. And you'll notice there's no doors.
I was gonna say, there's no doors.
There's no doors, so you just kind of hop on this little curved running board-esque thing, and then you drive away.
Was that an invitation?
No.
No, I can't get in. Oh my! I'd love to maybe see some of your favorites, and let's highlight some of those.
Yeah,
Can we?
Sure,
Walk a little
absolutely.
bit. So tell me, why is this your favorite? I mean, I love it, but why is this your favorite?
Well, first of all, this is an unrestored car, so you can see it's in its full, well-loved condition. But yes, you see these kind of repairs.
A little Frankensteinish.
But here's why I love this car. First of all, you see the echoes of the smart car. You see its kind of evolution. This was also the precursor to the French mini car movement after World War II. But what's incredible about this car, it was designed in 1942. Again, a singular guy. Paul Arzans was a French artist and also a locomotive engineer, and he built several cars sort of for himself. And this he designed during the occupation in Paris in 42 to just get around. And so you can see behind her this incredible photograph of it with the Eiffel Tower.
Look how shiny it was.
Yeah, it
still is. It still is.
It's still beautiful. It's aluminum and plexiglass. It's considered the first bubble car.
So it's not very heavy then if it's aluminum.
It weighed 75 pounds when it was built, and it had a battery in the back. So it was a battery operated 3-wheel little people mover, and now it has an engine in it, but it's really this incredible crystallization of kind of innovation and creativity in a really difficult time. And to think that this is what came out and this is what he made and he drove out, it's so open and it's such an expression of sort of visibility and freedom.
Okay, yeah, these are grouped together. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, so these kind of represent, the title of the show is Dream Cars. And the term dream car really actually gets coined by General Motors in 1953.
Oh, really?
That's the first time they use it as sort of a term for these rolling experiments, as they called them, these show car concept cars that they made. And one of the interesting things you'll see, just as a little point of fact, is that a lot of the cars, especially in the automotive ones, have names that you may recognize, like LeSabre or Cyclone. But what happened is, like, General Motors did their show car, the LeSabre, and then years later they'll release the name to Buick. So the Buick LeSabre actually has no real relationship.
That one says LeSabre right there.
But it's nothing like the Buick LeSabre people may have owned. But these three cars represent from 1951 to 56 to 59, three very different show cars that that General Motors made. The first one, the LeSabre, was Harley Earl, who was the head of the styling division of GM. He was the one who really said that the aesthetics was as important as the technical. And he actually even did a survey where he basically asked the public, what's more important to you, that it is faster or it looks faster? And they were like, that it looks faster, of course, right? So this was his personal car. He drove this around. One of the great things about this car is that it has a sensor. So if you parked it with the top down and a drop of rain hit the sensor, the top would close, so as not to ruin your car.
And what year was this again?
This was 51.
Look at that.
Amazing,
really.
right? And we're still working on that.
Yes, we are. And I know this one's got a little something very special because I could see it right now.
Yes.
And I can't believe that.
Yeah, the Centurion is amazing. So 1956, introduced at the Motoramas, which were these kind of fairs that General Motors ran. And you can see there's a camera mounted in the back, and there's a screen. And so it was an early backup camera. So the technology sort of existed, but it's not even really standard today.
No,
it's
not.
going to be probably soon.
Yeah.
But
that's what I find so remarkable. I mean, look, and
it's right there.
But what's so wonderful is that they incorporated the mechanics of this into the design.
Absolutely, it becomes one fluid piece.
Yes.
So you're all kind of pointed to the innovation and this beautiful design. And then you see it has a full canopy, sort of bubble top. So there's no mirrors. There's no rearview mirror because you don't need it.
You're right, you don't need it.
Of course, I think you bake if it's hot out.
Yeah,
it's
you probably do.
not so good for that.
In Atlanta, probably not so good.
Not so good. Or
Miami, probably not so good.
Not good. And then this car, the Cyclone, was one of the last that Harley Earls did. And what's amazing, and you can't see it, but if you open up this the trunk, and there's a picture we have of it, there's a full canopy bubble top that goes over it. So you're almost kind of like a racer in there.
What color is it?
It's just a clear plexiglass like bubble top. So it fully encapsulates you. But in case you need to talk to someone, has an intercom system, and this little door that you see here is for your tolls. So you don't need to be bothered. So it's really kind of incredible.
Oh my gosh.
What was really interesting when we were doing the research was that when this was introduced in '59, it was really touted for its safety. So and you see in the front those kind of big protruded cones, which are called Dagmars.
Dagmars, okay.
Named after a very buxom young starlet. So you can see where the influence is.
Oh, okay.
I don't have to spell it out more
now
than that.
I see it. Now I see it.
The Dagmars, and they had radars in them. So the idea was they were radar sensing cones that could sense things in the road. You know, like you've seen, you see ads today for this, right? A deer crosses and the car stops. Well, this had both an audible and a visual warning in the sort of dash, so that you would know if something was in your way. So these two cars are incredible, and we're thrilled to have both of them here in Atlanta. They represent this incredible moment in 1970. So these were two cars, the Pininfarina Modulo and Bertone Zero, which it was really, I call it the battle for the vertically challenged. It was this wedge shape, but it was really to make the lowest kind of car.
Right.
Make these very low cars.
That's pretty low.
Yeah, so it's amazing. So in Geneva in 1970, at the Geneva Auto Show, Pininfarina introduces the Modulo, 37 inches tall. It's incredible. It has this sort of cupola top that pulls forward, and then you step in and you're kind of low into the ground in this kind of encapsulated car. Well, several months later in Turin, Bertone introduces the Zero, and it was 33 inches tall. It's considered the lowest running concept car ever made.
That's under 3 feet.
But do you notice what's missing from this car?
Well, doors, right?
Absolutely.
Doors. So you would get in through,
Yes,
I'm guessing.
Guess. Let's see.
Let me guess. Well, I see those are probably hinges right on top. So this probably lifts up this way.
Absolutely.
And then you and I would jump in, would step right there.
Right.
So we
That's
don't
your
scuff the car.
welcome mat.
That's our welcome mat.
Yes, exactly.
I would get behind the wheel, of course. And you'd be riding
Yes,
next
you'd
to
be
me.
my passenger. I don't think you could handle this car.
Come on, Sarah. Oh, okay. We can take turns.
We could take turns.
Or I can have the white one over there.
Yeah, and actually the
So was
steering
I
wheel
right?
pushes forward. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the steering, when you open the thing, that you pull the steering wheel forward.
That way
so
you can actually sit
Because
down.
you basically hold the steering wheel between your legs. So what do you think this little bar thing is there? Can you guess?
Oh, put me on the spot.
No, just.
Let's see. You mean that little?
Yeah, see
right
that
here.
little parallel bar? I just found this out recently.
Well, I don't know, because I'm thinking if you're going to step on there, first of all, I'm not even sure how to open it. If you would push a button perhaps in the center, maybe it pops. I don't know.
I'm going to give you a hint.
Windshield wipers?
Yes, that's the wiper. That's where the wiper blade sits. So it pops up when it rains. You know, you pop it up, and that's where your windshield.
Is it
wiper
one
blade.
big?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And then actually the rear view mirrors are kind of right in here. They're very hard to see. But it's an incredible car. I mean, this thing, it actually has a little space for luggage. A little tiny little compartment back here. And then this actually opens as like a full triangle.
I saw a
so you
picture
can-
of that. That is amazing. Yes,
So
it's like
it's-
this big fin almost that it's got.
Absolutely, it's incredible. I mean, you can see here, this is the photograph of this woman getting into the car, so you can kind of get a sense of how really, it's just so, I mean, it's so forward thinking, but really it's never really kind of been matched. And again, not meant to really be ever a production car.
You know that.
I know.
You know what's behind us.
So this is an amazing car, the Bugatti.
Bugatti.
This is an interesting car because it is actually, it was designed in 1935, but this car is actually very recently made.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
okay. Tell me about that.
So it's really interesting. It's called the Aeroleith, made by Bugatti. And what's fascinating, and it's in the section of the show about the influence of automotive fairs and exhibitions. This showed in Paris in 1935 and then London and disappeared. And all that exists of the original car are photographs of it at the fair, a single painting, which we have a photograph of, and then specs, kind of factory details and whatever. What they believed happened, if you're familiar with Bugattis, it looks very similar to the Atlantic. And so the Aeroleith was first, and then 4 Atlantics were made. And they found Bugatti numbered as parts. So there's certain parts that were numbered for the Aeroleith that they've found on some of these the Atlantics. But what's crazy about this car, its body is made of, can you guess?
Oh,
Probably not. You're not.
no,
I'm not allowed to touch
can't.
it. It's made of magnesium. It's made of an alloy of magnesium called electron. And what's interesting
Wow.
is that the company that made the original metal body, the sheets of it, they still exist. So they were able to get it. Took them years to figure out how to work with it. Magnesium is very volatile, and one of the reasons you see this incredible riveted detail is because magnesium has a tendency to want to go back to its original shape. So those rivets help keep it in its shape. But it has these beautiful lines.
A magnesium car with suicide doors.
Crazy.
I mean,
But it tells, what I think is really fascinating about it is it speaks to the legend of these cars. That these kind of unique visions, sometimes they're so amazing that people never forget them. And so there's such a desire to figure this out. But these were all made of original parts, and really, they really strove to make this as close to the original as possible. This is our rolling rocket. I love this. It's the Firebird 1, incredible. And this, this was really about introducing to the public this idea of the turbine engine, this new kind of, sort of the mechanics of it. But they dressed it in a car that, so the public would never think it was coming. You're not going to get this thing in 2 years.
No.
But it's an amazing, amazing car, and I love all these incredible details. I mean, this great, you got this great Firebird decal on it. It's a single seat. I mean, this is about speed and testing. You can look here, if you come over here and look at these details, these actually function, these little wings function.
They go flap up and down, just like an airplane.
Yeah, so they help slow you down in the sort of testing. Now, this car wasn't really designed to be a testing vehicle. This was a show car, but it was sort of possible. And you can see behind me in these murals how it was shown at the Motorama. and just the kind of spectacle and drama and how excited people were in its own era. We tried to create that here a little bit. But at these fairs, of course, people had outfits that would match, and it was really about how innovative and advanced the industry was. What you also see in this room is the model. So that's the four-foot model for this car. It was the presentation model that would have been shown to sort of roll out this thing. And then these sketches that you see here was, after this was shown, and this was based off of the Douglas F4D Skyjet. So a Skyray jet. And so this was really based off of a physical airplane.
Really?
They kind of wanted, they were like, this was kind of the influence, let's see if we could make this. And then Harley Earls continued to want to push what would be next. So what happens, what would you do after this? This was such a great moment when it was introduced at the Motorama. And so then these sketches represent them trying to figure out, well, what if it had 2 seats? What if it could be, could look somewhat different, but the same? But really, some of the ideas that they were introducing also with this was the automated highway. So you have to think in 53, they're rethinking the whole way the country's being moved through. And these highways are part of it. And you think about all that goes with that. I mean, things like the signage on how things are seen, the rise of the not the hotel, but the motel, and signage that's readable as you whiz on by. And so it changes the whole landscape. And this is all these ideas that they're thinking about on top of just new car designs.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this, and I know the scale is probably very deceptive here, but that looks tiny. I mean, who would really fit in there? Like, would I fit in there?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, this lifts up, and it's probably, since it's built like a jet fighter, you probably sit, and your legs probably all the way down here, right?
You're encapsulated in it, absolutely. Yeah. You're encapsulated in it. And, but again, this wasn't a car that was meant even to really drive. It was meant to, I mean, somebody did. It's not that it was never driven, but it was really to showcase. I mean, this is all about how amazing this looks, and what an idea of the future, right? You see this and you think there's so much potential, so much progress that's possible. And these are leaders in it.
Thank you so much.
You.
Oh, this is great. This is great.